convocation for the assembly that is going to take place on, let me see exactly what's the date. It was May 10. Yeah, Annabelle, I'm right. Yes, May 10.
Yeah, May 10.
1 p.m. UTC.
UTC time, yes.
Good. So that report contains the activities that we have done well over the past fiscal year, and well, if you're not a member of the cooperative, well, I really suggest that you make your application and join us. So that's one thing. We have a really interesting announcement that it's going to come very, very soon, and I'm extremely excited about that. Should I say something about that, Sheen, or maybe just wait to make it official? I think we should wait, right?
Yes, I think people could enable the notifications on Twitter, and we will communicate through.
Yeah, I mean that seems like more reasonable. Yeah, so do keep follow the Twitter account of Kleros, and there's going to be some really exciting news very soon. So I'm not going to say anything else about that. Then we had number of preparing our staff for the ETHCC conference that's taking place in July. My talk was accepted, so I'm happy about that. And Misu, thank you for all of your hard work researching the NFT curation, because I'm going to speak about that and how we can use Kleros for resolution of NFT situations of disputes, and how curating NFTs can be, well, with using Kleros can be more transparent than doing this verification with some internal service like they do it at, well, the NFT platforms that you know already. So I'm excited about that. I don't remember who else from the team got their talk accepted. Annabelle, who got the talk accepted for ETHCC? We have like 3 or 4 maybe.
So far we don't have answers for Plinio, for William. We had answers for Shotaro and Alej. Alej got his talk accepted as well. And yours.
Good. I'm not sure if Shotaro is here, so he can tell us a bit about his talk. No, Alex is not here, so yeah. So my talk is about NFTs.
Yeah. I was reading about Alej's talk. His the proposal that he made, very, very interesting. He's going to talk about should we trust governments, and what is a decentralized government. He's going to talk about this topic. It's something a little different, but for Shotaro. But I have the impression that the acceptance emailing was about the talks that were dealing with DAO and governance. So it's maybe the reason why there will be a second batch of acceptance with other applications. I think Andre also is going to apply with the talk.
Yeah. I think we might have lots of talks there. Last year we had like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5. We typically have lots of talks there. Well, maybe because we're French, but I'm not French, but the company. So yeah, it's going to be really, really exciting. William, you submitted a talk, right? A proposal. Yeah,
I did. I haven't heard anything back yet. So my proposal is about kind of like various research on voting theory, and some of the research on voting theory specifically with Kleros about sort of Schelling point voting, and similarities and differences to like stuff like quadratic voting, commitment voting, and like there's other broader research about voting theory that has kind of different goals, but like also, you know, people talk about in the context of DAOs and Web3. So, you know, like similarities and differences between these sort of like different worlds of different kinds of voting.
Good. So as you know, the V2 of Kleros is going to have a number of improvements in, social choice theory. So that's the same direction of that. So we have that. So ETHCC, and we are seeing what event we want to organize there. So as a side event, then we had, well, this week we had a problem with IPFS, probably an attack to the nodes. I will let JB explain a bit more what happened, so you are all in the loop. Go ahead, JB.
Yeah, so we've received a lot of interest from one participant. Yeah, so we had a lot of interest from one participant who's been querying our IPFS node, which is what we used for decentralized storage. For whatever reason, that person has been downloading a lot of content, content which is not actually Kleros content, and that has put a lot of stress on our system. It's been filling up our disk space, and that meant that the dApps could not handle any more content. For example, no more transactions, no more new transactions, no more new evidence could be submitted. For example, we couldn't submit any more profile on Proof Humanity. So initially we were not sure exactly where that came from, so we just blocked access to the dApps in several regions. That was just to be on the safe side of things. Actually, it was not really necessary. We could have just restricted access to the IPFS nodes, and not so much to the front end. But now we are slowly restoring the service, and yeah, the front end should be back online for everyone. We saw this morning that even though we were able to bring the IPFS server back without all this garbage storage on our disk, actually the disks filled up again in a matter of hours. We had like a terabyte of data filling up in a matter of few hours. So we are also working on more longer term solutions, but at least for now it's in control, and we are able to deal with these additional transactions and requests. It's what makes it really complicated, I would say, is that we don't want, when we flush that data from our server, we absolutely want to make sure that we are not losing any of our legitimate data. It's super important for the court. So that's what makes it really tricky. But yeah, for now we are in control. And I think we'll probably release a more detailed postmortem probably soon.
Thank you, JB. So yeah, that caused some of our services to be down for some hours, but affecting all of our dApps. Well, it sucks, but it's in control now, and it's fine. When we are also, well, I cannot give at this point much more information, but yeah, we will release some more info post-mortem of what happened, and of course we are already taking actions to strengthen the infrastructure. So that happened also. That took some of our time in the first days of this week. Then we have really exciting first insurance case in all time. So as you know, this is a case coming from Unslashed, and it's about whether some insurance claim should be paid or not, regarding I don't want to get into detail because Federico is saying who is writing the case. So I'm really excited about the fact that this is really the first case that we get from this really important partner. And so the insurance type of cases, what they have is that they don't produce lots of you don't get lots of high value cases coming from insurance claims, but it gives Kleros the role of a very important part of infrastructure to secure these like deals that happen in very big like value contracts about insurance platforms, right? So we at Kleros have like two like main metrics which we use to measure how the court is going in terms of traction. So one of the metrics is like the amount of cases we have, and so there are like type of use cases that tend to produce a large number of cases, well, for example, in this situation is like proof of humanity, for example, but a very important use case that we will have in the future, we think, is going to be related to content moderation. So that's like millions and millions of cases that, well, currently are handled by the internal moderation services of big platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and etc. So when, as we expect, Kleros becomes a tool to resolve these situations in a more fair way, well, that would potentially create a like steady flow of cases for jurors to adjudicate and keep them busy. But these are still a bit like a lower value kind of situations, and this it's still, we are still need to release the V2 of the court in order for the efficiency of Kleros to be enough to address these situations. We have, well, discussed at length V2, so I'm not going to go into much detail here, but so that's a very important metric that we follow. And then there's this other metric. It's about the value secured by Kleros in terms of in which sense the existence of Kleros makes possible a set of transactions that potentially wouldn't be possible if Kleros didn't exist, or those transactions would be at a higher risk of well, counterparty risk and well, default or whatever, which, as you know, it's cases like prediction markets. We had two very big cases, one regarding the number of deaths in Omen. There was a bet about the discussion on whether there was more or less than 1,000 deaths in, I don't remember which period, that was in 2020, right? Yeah, 2020. And the other one, the very, very famous Trump versus Biden case. So that one had at stake like $2.5 million in, well, the money that was at stake in the prediction market. So these situations, they are what we call like high TVS like cases. Like it's a high total value secured. So we imagine Kleros, like these cases don't happen very often, but they still require Kleros to be like as a backup in case this could happen. This is the reason why, I mean, a country has an army. You know, you don't expect to use the army all the time, but the fact that the army exists, well, creates some situation where it secures the possibility of the economy working and society, you know, functioning normally. And so this insurance case that we have now, that we have the first claim actually coming to court, well, it's really a milestone. I'm extremely happy about this. And this also opens the door to a number of other conversations we're having with different insurance protocols that they require the same type of service coming from Kleros. So we can say that we like are reaching like product market fit in terms of this specific use case. So yeah, I'm extremely excited about that, and I will let now William maybe do some update about the research elements.
Yeah, so it's sort of the same things that they're always going on. I got some interesting reviews back on a paper that I wrote a while ago that is slowly making its way through the academic publishing process, and hopefully will someday be available for you all to read in a journal on sort of the Schelling point style social choice theory that we already alluded to. So like the idea is to like lay the foundations of like what does social choice theory, so this like study of voting systems look like, where you compare different voting systems that have different advantages and disadvantages, look like when you have incentives coming from Schelling point systems like Kleros, and like how can we start to, like what kind of structure can we put in place to say, okay, like this one is good in certain circumstances and this other voting system is like better in other circumstances. And like one of the interesting sort of like theorems of the paper, if any of you are familiar with Arrow's impossibility theorem, which is like a famous theorem in like standard social choice theory, which basically says that like you can't have a perfect voting system that like satisfies like all the kinds of nice properties you would want to have simultaneously. Here, the sort of Schelling point equivalent of that is that if you have ranked choice voting with more than 3 options, then you can't simultaneously have resistance to 51% attacks unless you also have like rare, weird situations where people actually are incentive, like the options people are incentivized to vote, the ones that are sort of most profitable to them, aren't actually the ones that are most likely to win according to their estimation. So there's like a failure of Schellingness. But then we can look at like voting systems where that's less likely, even if it always happens to some degree. In some voting systems, it's like way less likely than others. So that paper is working its way through. It involved the eventual publication process, and it informed some of the decisions we made about the research going into Court V2. Other than that, we had an interesting discussion with Federico and some Swiss researchers that were like a legal paper on Kleros. Maybe Federico has some comments about that. But they have like an interesting preprint of another one of these kinds of like analysis of Kleros and the role of DAOs from a legal perspective.
Yeah, that was a really well-researched paper. You need to have some patience to write really 60 pages. It's a lot of pages, but it's extremely well-researched, and it has an extremely, good like, landscape of, of this new industry that we are being part of its birth. That is what we call decentralized justice. I saw some comment on Telegram about whether this is too early or not. I mean, we started Kleros like 5 years ago. So imagine when we started, that was like crazy. I mean, we started pitching Kleros to people. I mean, we look like lunatics at some point in the very 2017. Imagine, and I mean, I think that I had this conversation at LISCON, in the Lisbon conference, with a quite important VC in the crypto space. I cannot say who it is because it was a private conversation, and I mean, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to say who this was, but I'm just going to say what he told me. He told me something like this. So there are like 2 kinds of projects. So there are projects that are really good, like at the timing. I mean, they see like some trend that is coming in the world, and I mean, they make a team and try to ride that wave. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's a type of strategy. And there is other type of projects that they have a vision about what the future would look like, and what is going to be needed for that future to actually come to fruition. And they just do that development, and of course taking signals for the market and learning as they do. Well, guess what? Which one is Kleros of this? So what I can tell you is that we have seen like around us, like being born, all of this ecosystem of different projects of Web3 that they don't really have another choice than using some system like Kleros to resolve claims in situations that are, well, not solvable by the fact of that contracts are incomplete and that they cannot decide, smart contracts cannot rule and cannot decide situations where there is subjectivity or interpretation or everything that you already know. So we are seeing this ecosystem and growing around us. And you can see that in this little ecosystem chart we share once in a while of all of the projects that connect to Kleros and use us for resolution in different aspects. So when we started Kleros, what we were like pitching all the time was the Alice and Bob, freelance contract for a website. And over time, we learned lots of things about the market. We had no idea about the curation use case, which ended up being, for now, the largest one in Kleros. So we kind of learned, adapted that. And now we are kind of seeing how we start to capitalize on all of this learning that we had over time. And there's also one important thing that is important for Kleros. I mean, it's important for all of every project, but it's especially important for projects that, are like selling distributed solution, which requires a lot of legitimacy and of trust of parties to work and for them to trust that this platform can resolve the claims. And we had lots of talks, conferences, research, papers. So it's not that I mean we do all of these activities because that's a critical element of a dispute resolution system, because this involves lots of human elements about how people trust institutions and all that. So it's, even if the growth is a bit slower than what you can expect in a DeFi app that they do offer farming opportunities, the truth is that also the defensibility of a system like Kleros to forks. I mean, if someone just copied Kleros, they will have to produce lots of good arguments to show why they are in a position to deserve the trust of the partners, right? So that's what we have been building all this time. And it's not just software, it's, as I always say, it's also human software upgrade. Kleros' way of solving disputes is, as you know, really, really different to what people are used to, and that requires lots of education and lots of explaining why this works like that. And it's kind of I sometimes use the example of Wikipedia. When Wikipedia started in 2000, people didn't trust it because what do you mean you're going to make an encyclopedia of people, anonymous, random people from the internet? This is never going to work. We already have Britannica or Encarta, and I'm really old to say Encarta, but yeah, I had Encarta. Did you have Encarta, William?
No, I didn't. Sorry.
You should have said yes. No, so it's kind of a similar thing.
Encarta is the best.
You don't even know. You read that into Wikipedia, and I'm not going to trust that you know Encarta.
Actually, I had this for Christmas when I was at primary school.
Really?
Yeah.
That must have been the last one of the Encarta versions, because.
Oh yeah, I had it once. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had Encarta too.
You had Encarta too? Well,
yeah.
So I'm
25.
You don't know what Encarta is for sure. 25 and Encarta now. Really?
Yeah. Yes. Of course. Yeah.
Well,
2000.
I don't feel that old. I don't feel that old then. So it's kind of it took some time for Wikipedia to convince people that it could be an encyclopedia. well, it's taking some time, and it took some time for Bitcoin to convince people that it can be currency or money or value reserve, and it's of course taking time for Kleros to convince people that it can resolve disputes in a fair way. So it's like normal evolution of the market, and we think that we are like doing this in the right way, even if it's by nature of the business in which we are. I mean, a bit slower than other crypto projects. So yeah, I just wanted to address that. And I don't know what else we have for today, but I would recommend that you, don't get too far from Twitter in the next coming hours. Do you have any questions, guys?
I have something to comment, but I'll send you over chat because I have a lot of background noise here.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
About the pop-ups.
Okay. Good. Well, that's it then. Yeah. Well, Jean, let's looking forward to your comment on the chat, and and happy and excited to make a little announcement in the coming hours. So, see you guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye. See you.
Bye.
Bye.